Coming up today on the Nice Guys on Business.
So we called it Rob Levine Legal Solutions, and then our tagline is Growing Law Firms. And what we heard from people who would come see me speak and people who asked for our services is, while there is a need for those individual services within the law firm, the big picture is lawyers need to be able to think as CEOs, right? So as a CEO, you're a visionary. You're about growth. You're about big picture. How do I accomplish and improve my law firm? Culture, operations, process, like the marketing. And so that's my big focus now, right? Is to tie it all together and say, we have these individual services we can offer you. But from a mastermind perspective or consulting, my real job is helping the lawyer either become the CEO or the CEO how to think at the next level in the bigger picture.
You see, Danny, there's a force in the universe that makes things happen, and all you have to do is get in touch with it. Stop thinking, let things happen, and be the ball. Or be the nice guys on business. Either one is good. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by TurnKey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, Nice Guy community. Today's guest is Rob Levine, and he's earned the title The Heavy Hitter. He's built a powerhouse law firm fighting for injured and disabled clients while also creating Rob Levine Legal Solutions to help other law firms grow and operate more efficiently. His entrepreneurial mindset doesn't stop at law. He's also behind a cutting-edge SaaS, that's software as a service company, and deeply involved in community service. From legal battles to business strategy, he knows how to build, scale, and lead with purpose. Whether he's advocating for clients, supporting fellow attorneys, or giving back, Rob proves that success in business and service go hand in hand. Whether you're a nice guy, whether you're a business owner, or whether you're in the legal space, take note of Rob's journey. Rob, I'm excited to chat with you. Welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Thanks, Doug. I appreciate you inviting me and having me. That's quite the bio you put together. Thanks very much. That's impressive.
Well, you know, my mom writes them all. So as a 91-year-old, she's really sharp, and she really hit the hammer on that one, didn't she?
She's doing a great job. I heard that and I said, wow, who is that guy?
Well, it's a good guy. It's a good intro because you're the guy behind the intro. And it's interesting. There was so much that I could pull from in your past. You know, you've had several decades of experience in law. And so I really want to start here. Are you an entrepreneur turned attorney or an attorney turned entrepreneur? Which way does it go?
You know, I would say they're equally divided. So if we really go back to the beginning, right? My original business started with a plumbing and heating company. So I went to law school with a guy named Anthony Gemma, and his family owned Gem Plumbing and Heating. And when I graduated from law school, they asked me to come aboard. We were supposed to open a law practice together, but they really begged him to come to the plumbing company. And since they paid for him to go to law school, he had no choice.
Oh, boy.
And so they asked me to join. And so at the time, they were probably a $5 million company and about 50 guys. It was started by their dad and then handed down to the brothers. And then I worked for them for 7 years. And during that 7-year period, I sat on their executive board. I handled their legal stuff, but we also really focused on growth. And we grew them from 50 guys to 300 guys and from 5 million to 40 million a year.
Oh, my God.
And so with them, we bought an old abandoned movie theater called the Castle Cinema Cafe and turned it into Rhode Island's first dinner in a movie theater. Really blew it out.
Right.
And then I was responsible for real estate acquisitions. We bought about 300 units in the first 3 years I was there. Tax sales, foreclosures, built a whole real estate practice, really. So that's really where I got my business experience.
Wow. Wow. So I would say if I was going to go back and re-ask that question, I would say you're an entrepreneur turned attorney. Tell me about your journey, because while law is certainly a part of that, it sounds like you get your excitement and your thrill from the beginning, the early stages of the entrepreneurial journey, and then what happens beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, from the The nice guy side, I really get my drive is the truth from helping people and making a difference. So if we turn the clock back even further, right, my real journey started at 16 when I joined a volunteer ambulance corps. And then from there, I went into the military as an MP. And from there, I became a police officer. I went to law school while I was a police officer. And then after that, I later became a paramedic. So I've never really stopped volunteering and helping and making a difference. And then obviously, as a lawyer, it obviously expands the difference from helping one person at a time to helping literally thousands. At this point, our law firm opened last month like 900 new cases.
Wow.
And so we have over, I think, 10,000, we're at 12,000 active cases right now. So we help a lot of people. So that combined with what you describe, right, as the entrepreneurial drive, building things and growing. And it's not just building the company, it's building people's lives, right? So we're over 500 team members now. So being able to help 500 people, and we're in multiple countries, Colombia, Peru, the Philippines. So especially in other countries, when you're helping one person in a family, you're making a huge impact on their entire family, especially in the Philippines. So it's just been an amazing ride.
I found that in the legal community, very similar to the medical community, the gift that the practitioner brings to the business table is their gift of being able to practice law, or being able to interpret law, or being able to do medicine or practice medicine. I find that the biggest challenge for most attorneys is in the growth of their practice, is in getting new clients to come in the door, handling staff and team members, creating a culture, creating a, innovating within the legal industry, which is tough because it's such an old industry, So how did you see yourself unraveling all of the nuances of those other things other than just the practice of practicing law?
I mean, you make a great point, right? So when you think of someone who goes to law school, or even if you thought about someone who goes to medical school, or really any advanced degree, they're teaching you the specifics of how to be successful in that practice. In law school and in medical school, nobody teaches you business, right? There's a business law class, but that's how to operate as an attorney and practice business law, not how to run the business. And so working at Gem Plumbing was an eye-opening experience, right? So being able to understand a balance sheet and understand a P&L and understand labor costs and operational costs and overhead, and how you can improve all of these things, but yet still have a great culture and a great opportunity for the team and just grow, is really what lit the fire. But in the beginning, right, we were a multidisciplined law firm. We did everything you can imagine. You walk in the door, I took everything. And then slowly over time, we learned how to notch it down into areas that we could really grow and didn't require my specific time, and we could train people. And so we do three things: personal injury, social security disability, and veterans disability. Mm-hmm. Veterans is amazing, right? Because as a veteran, being able to give back and help other veterans is just an amazing experience.
So I think about early on in growing my business, understanding that everyone with a checkbook was not a good client. It just seemed like, hey, in the beginning, you want everything, anything that comes in the door, you wanted to do. And I loved how you started to focus in on your specialty of the personal injury and the other things that you do. When was it that you discovered that not only were you going to do this personal injury stuff, but you were going to expand to help other firms do the things that they needed? I know you have several businesses within the legal community: a medical record retrieval, legal consulting, you have a mastermind, you do staffing and training, and all of those things that you do. When did you know that, hey, I can help other firms really reach their level of success by just sharing with them some systems and processes?
I mean, I wish I could say that was an intentional plan, but it wasn't. So I joined my first mastermind group probably after having been a lawyer for maybe around 6 or 7 years. Mm-hmm. And listening to other lawyers share their experiences and learning, we really started to improve. And as we grew, I just naturally became a leader. So I was always looking for cutting edge, looking for new technologies, and looking for ways for us to improve the law firm. And then I started having friends, as for Records on Time, our record retrieval platform that we now offer to other law firms. We built it for us.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had friends say, hey, can you help me? Right. And I'm like, no, we built this for in-house. It's not really the plan. And then I had another friend, and then I talked about it at a mastermind. And then I started speaking, right, at bigger summits. I was
Right.
just at the AMB seminar, which is interesting because when we talk about entrepreneur, the AMB summit I went to is lawyers and doctors. And there were more doctors there than there were lawyers.
Right.
And someone came up to me afterwards and said, can you help a doctor? And I said, I help plumbers. I'm pretty sure I could probably help a doctor.
That is great. Well, so it sounds like in the beginning of our Turnkey podcast productions journey, we were a podcast that started on the tail end of me writing a book called Nice Guys Finish First. I was teaching my customer service philosophy to other people that were in the entertainment world, and I said, let's start this podcast as a promotional resource. I didn't have the $3,000 a month that a publicist wanted, and I think about the years that we spent promoting that customer service training and business consulting, and we started to grow that, and it was doing okay. But it was one person in our audience, Lou Diamond, who said, hey, that stuff that you do, it's really good with customer service, but could you teach me how to launch a podcast? And I was like, I have a podcast. I don't have any idea how to do it. And I was pretty open with him about it. I said, I don't have a service. I don't even know how much I would charge you for it. And then we came up with a partnership together where he said, I'm willing to pay $600, $500 a month for 6 months, or $3,000 to do it. Would you be open to that? And that was the beginning of 300 plus launches that we did for our clients. Sorry to make the long story even longer, but I guess my question is, did you discover this need because of the market telling you, hey, Rob, I know you practice PI, but what we want you to teach us about medical record retrieval, and we want you to teach us about staffing. Did each one of the components of your business come as a result of the market asking for it?
So that's really a perfect question. If you look back prior to August of this past year, each one of our businesses was standalone. We had Records on Time. We had Top Notch Remote Solutions, which is the academy and training. We had Legal Ascend, which is the mastermind group and consulting. And I thought to myself, we have 3 separate websites. We have this sales team that's divided all over the place, and we completely rebranded. So we called it Rob Levine Legal Solutions, and then our tagline is Growing Law Firms. And what we heard from people who would come see me speak and people who asked for our services is, while there is a need for those individual services within the law firm, the big picture is lawyers need to be able to think as CEOs, right? So as a CEO, you're a visionary. You're about growth. You're about big picture. How do I accomplish and improve my law firm? Culture, operations, process, like the marketing. And so that's my big focus now, right? Is to tie it all together and say, we have these individual services we can offer you. But from a mastermind perspective or consulting, my real job is helping the lawyer either become the CEO or the CEO how to think at the next level in the bigger picture.
One of the most important things I found as a business owner, and I hope you can agree with this, and if you don't, I'd welcome your pushback on it, but we know that the importance of people in your organization, whether you as the leader of this organization, you have several customers. You have your end result, people that pay your firm and your legal solutions company checks, and they are your customers. But as important, I think, at least with my company, I think that my team, the staff that I bring on board, they're my customers also. I have to make them happy. I feel like there's a duality as a leader in an organization. It's making your customers happy, but making your staff happy is almost as, if not more important than your customers that are paying your bills. I just would love to hear your comments on that as a leader of a large organization.
So I would love to push back because obviously, first and foremost, I'm a lawyer and I'm supposed to argue, but you hit the nail on the head, so I can't. So you're 100% right. And so I think one feeds the other. So if you feed the team and you make the team happy and have buy-in and loyalty and truly enjoy what they do, then you're going to have happy customers. Because if your team's not doing a good job and they're not doing it for the right reason and you're not taking care of them, you're not nurturing them, they're certainly not going to turn around and nurture your clients. And we want to nurture our clients, obviously, one, because they've entrusted us to take care of their lives in a catastrophic moment. And two, because obviously we want to grow our business through referrals. Marketing is fantastic, but the best form of marketing is
Right.
internal growth. And so you're 100% right. I mean, having the right culture and the right leadership, which is this year our focus. Every year we refocus and decide what is the plan for the business. And so our three things this year are growth, leadership, and culture. And we're always looking to improve culture.
One of the most challenging parts of being a leader in an organization, as I would imagine, as I've been through myself, but on a much smaller scale than your legal solutions company or your firm, is the ability to pull away from micromanaging. You know, with all of the things that you have going on, 500 plus staff members, if that's the current number, all of the hundreds or thousands of cases that you have or have had going on in the past, there's a tendency as business owners for us to want to get into the weeds a lot. How do you maintain a 35,000-foot approach and still maintain the knowledge of what the day-to-day happenings are within whether it's your company or your firm?
Well, so the initial answer falls back to the last thing you said, which is team, right? So surrounding yourself, which I have an amazing team, and having an amazing team and being able to trust them and know that they're going to do the right thing. And I just had this conversation. So I have two executive assistants, one for the law firm and one for solutions. And we were just talking earlier. And I said, if you want to truly be my right hand, I have to know that when you make a decision, you think like me. Doesn't mean your style has to be like me. Doesn't have to mean that you do it the way I do it. It just means that the end result would be where I would have landed. And so I have that conversation with everyone on my team, from the chief marketing officer to the chief operations officer to the chief financial officer, in my absence, because I'm working on multiple streams of business and because I'm helping other people and I'm not always present to make decisions. I need to know I can trust you. And I do. I implicitly trust my team.
That's
from the
awesome.
top to the bottom.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's so important, and so empowering your team is, again, sometimes it's a challenge because you may make decisions differently than the style that they have, or the way that they're going to make a decision. But the end result is empowering your people to allow them to make decisions. How do you handle someone that you've empowered to make a decision? They make, and you see it happening, because you can often look at the car accident and this is a good pun, I guess, in your industry, watch the car accident happening. You can't look away, but at the same time, you don't want to save it because you want them to learn their own lesson. You got to learn through some you learn powerful lessons that way from watching your people fail, as hard as it is to watch your children fail. Talk about that for just a second, as a leader that has to be put into a position to allow your people to fail and then be okay with it as long as they recover properly.
So there's a line for us between failing in a case, because obviously you're dealing with someone else's life. So those have tremendous levels of supervision. For every 6 team members, let's say case managers working on a case, they have a team lead. That team lead doesn't have a caseload. They're supervising them. That person's supervised by a manager, supervised by a lawyer. And so those cases, there's lots of, I won't say micromanagement, but strict scrutiny and supervision, because every case is important. But on the business side, you're 100% right that I empower them to make decisions. And sometimes they tell me the decision they're making, and I think to myself, that's probably not what I would do, but let's see what happens. And sometimes they're right, and it's a fantastic result. And sometimes they're not so right, and we learn from it, or I should say they learn from it. And I just hold on to my seat really tight, white knuckle grip, and think to myself, yep, it's a ride, but we're learning and we're growing.
So one of the things in today's economy, of course, with the prevalence of and the huge growth of artificial intelligence or technology, it's got to be an area that has tremendously affected your industry. Can you share how your company, whether it's Legal Solutions or the firm, can you share how you use technology to your advantage, and maybe the areas where you still have to offer that human element in the approach? I would imagine your forward facing, your customer facing stuff can't be as much technology. You need to get human element involved with talking to customers and clients. So how has technology affected you? I guess that's the short question that I would rather have asked.
Yeah. So first of all, it's how we approach it. So we have what we've given the title to a team member as Director of Innovation. So she happens to be a super smart lawyer and super smart techie person. So she just happens to have that phenomenal mix of those two skills. So, and her responsibility is to always be forward thinking. So we actually had a conversation today because I had a review with her today. And she's like, what AI would you like me to be thinking, or systems would you like me to be looking at? I said, that's not what I want you looking at. I said, that's the easy part. It's already in the market. Google it, and you're going to get an answer. What I want you thinking about is next 6 months, next year. And normally in a business question, I say, where do we want to be in 3 years? But with AI, it's where do we want to be next? It's insane.
Right.
So we are just launched a brand new, to answer your question specifically, we just launched a brand new mail system. So we had a mailroom full of people opening mail, sorting mail, scanning mail, sending mail out. We went to an AI-based system, which is the mail comes in, it gets put into the system reads it, it identifies where it belongs, it sends it to where it needs to go, it notifies the people that need to review it, it tracks to make sure there's follow-up that it was looked at. Like it's literally just launching this month. So we've been building it for at least 6 months.
How do you see, where do you see yourself if you had to take a vision, not just on technology, but just in the growth of solutions in your firm? Where do you see yourself heading in the next 12 to 24 months? It's hard to look 3, 5 years now. I mean, maybe in the 60s and 70s and even in the 80s it was, but technology is in the 90s when the internet really started hitting home with everything. It's so hard to have a forecast out that far as so many things change. So where do you see yourself in the next 12 to 24 months?
So first I'll answer it with this. I told you I went to AMB seminar and I was teaching, and they asked me for a straight business approach because there's doctors and lawyers in the room. So I taught change management. And so I started the seminar off. Well, I really started with telling everybody to get up. I said, everybody stand up. And I said, just hold on to that feeling. So for however many of you think, oh God, what's next? Oh, why are we standing? Oh, what an a-hole. And so I said, write that feeling down, because when we talk about how to deliver a message and create change, we're going to come back to that. But what I want to say is I started with 3 slides. So in 1899, there was a guy named Dueller who was in charge of the patent office for the United States. You've heard this?
Yeah, but it's great. Yeah. Tell the story. I haven't told it on the podcast
so
in
he
forever.
said in 1899, every patent that ever needs to be invented has already been invented.
So this is the guy
in charge of the patent office, right? And so then I rolled forward, and so I gave them, well, I'll just give you one other. I gave them one that came from Ballmer, who was the CEO of Microsoft. I think it was in 1981 or 1989, something like that. And he said, the iPhone is never going to get traction in this market. And so people just aren't able to look ahead and think about change. And the reality is that's where we live. Oh, my last slide is my first. After those slides, I show the evolution of man. And so if you look back, if you believe, that we came from chimpanzees, gorillas, and turned into cavemen and turned into what we are, change is inevitable. And so when I look forward now, the reality is I have no idea at this point. I think the next 5 years is going to be something like what the last 50 years probably looked like. It's going to excel that quickly.
When you look back to that guy that got involved in the plumbing business, right? Is that the first business you were involved in? When you look back to that Rob Levine, what advice would you offer him? Because there has been such it's not just changing technology and changing people and the origination of, the importance of culture and the customer service environment, all of that stuff, that was coming anyway. What would you tell that 19, 20, 25-year-old Rob Levine early on in your career that maybe now that you didn't know back then?
Oh, that's a long, long list.
How many things?
Yeah. So first of all, remember, I came from riding on a rescue to being in the military as an MP to being a police officer, and then I went to law school. So I was older than the typical lawyer. So I was probably 30 when I graduated from law school. Average lawyer is 23, 24 years old.
Uh-huh.
And so I was a jerk, right? So I was hard-nosed. I was difficult. I thought I knew everything.
Yeah.
And when I look back, I think about how little I know and how much better I could have done. And I did a great job for them. But had culture been one of the priorities as it is today, and understanding how to motivate people and how to listen. So we have advisory boards now made up of team members that work on projects and give us advice as opposed to telling people. But it's easy to tell you what to do. It's much harder to listen, right? And let other people harness their brain power. So yeah, from culture to leadership to innovation. I mean, I've learned in the last 25, I've been a lawyer 25 years. In the last 25 years, yeah, a tremendous amount of information I would pass back.
If there was somebody that you could meet that is no longer living, or is just somebody that's not in your circle of influence that you could have lunch with to ask them all sorts of business questions, the one that you are inspired by or motivated by, who is it and what would you ask them?
I've always been inspired by my grandmother, actually. So my grandmother was Hungarian. She came to the United States when she was probably in her mid-50s. She put my mother on a barge when she was 19 years old as Russia was invading Hungary to come to the United States. And then my grandmother came over many years later. My grandfather was an engineer and was never allowed to leave Hungary. He died there. And so my grandmother came here, didn't speak a word of English, didn't really have a skill set. She learned how to be a bookkeeper. She lived in Manhattan. She saved every dollar she made. She invested in the stock market, traveled the world, didn't retire till she was 88 years old. So people who know me are scared because they're like, I'm only 57. They're like, when are you planning on retire? I plan to outwork my grandmother.
Well, as a 60-year-old myself, I am inspired by you and your, I as I was doing my research, I just kept thinking, you have your hands in so many different things. What direction do I want to go as I have you sitting in the guest seat and talking? And sometimes the stories are just the best part of it. Sometimes the journey is really where you get, somebody gets inspired. There's so many people in our Nice Guy community that either have a side hustle going on, one foot out the door of their corporate job, or they want to become better leaders at the corporate job that they have. We don't discriminate against anybody that's in our audience. We love to hear their journeys. If there's any advice that you could give, I know it's hard to just narrow it down to one piece of advice, but if there's somebody that is an entrepreneur by heart, but they're just trying to figure out how to find their stride in their entrepreneurial journey, is there any advice that you think that we could leave them here with today?
So the key is to find your passion and really do what you love, right? If your business, if your work is your passion, it's not work,
Agreed.
Right? I love what I do. Like nobody understands, why are you working at 10 o'clock at night? And this morning I got up at 4:30 and went to the gym. And because I love it. It's just what I live for. And I have a 10-year-old and a 23-year-old. And so my 23-year-old's on her own, obviously. She's a trauma ICU nurse in a level 1 trauma center. And my 10-year-old thinks she's 23. So they take tremendous amount of time, but so I'll stop. We have dinner, get her ready, put her to bed. And then I'm happy to sit down at the computer and do some work because I just enjoy it. So the advice I would give is find what motivates you, what drives you, what's your passion, and then build on that.
I appreciate you sharing that advice. And if there's one question that would remain beyond that, because you shared about your 10-year-old and your 23-year-old, plus the 10 p.m. work, sometimes 4:30 get up to go to the gym. What would be defined in your world as balance, and how do you find it? Because it's got to be challenging with the team that you have built, the companies that you've put together, and all your hands in these different things. How do you find that balance in your life, and are able to stay in that balanced mode?
That's a great question. So 4 years ago, I moved to Puerto Rico. And so it's definitely, I have more balance here because I can walk to the beach.
Hmm.
It's literally a block away. I love boating. I'm actually in the process of buying a boat. So I'm setting the boat up so I can work on the boat.
Nice.
So I'm trying to be able to find things that I love to do in my personal life, but yet be able to. So sometimes I'll go to the beach and I'll just sit on the beach and relax, but I'll bring my iPad. So I'll go for a swim, I'll relax, and then I'll work for a little bit. So I know probably to some of your listeners thinks that's not balance. This guy's crazy. But so I enjoy, right, working and being able to be in nature, be on the beach, or go, let's say, to El Yunque, which is the rainforest here.
Yeah.
So I'm always striving to find that balance between working too hard, but yet still enjoying what I'm doing. And there's no easy answer. I mean, sometimes it's in balance, sometimes I'm out of balance.
But the fact that you recognize that, and it's not, and I didn't hear you giving a whole bunch of defensive reasons why balance is impossible at this level of the game.
No,
So
it's definitely not impossible. I mean, you just have to decide, you know, what is important to you, what is important, obviously, to your family, to the people around you, and find a way to balance it.
agreed, agreed. And Rob, how can my audience, if there's somebody that's, I know we talked about a lot of things today, and I want to make sure we give them not too many things to go to find information, but if we did have one spot that we wanted to send them to, where would be a good spot to send our audience to if they wanted to get more information about what you do and how you do it?
So if they go to the roblevinelegalsolutions.com website,
Hmm.
that gives a good overview of all of the businesses we do. Obviously, the law firm is just roblevine.com. That's our law firm itself. If you want to communicate with me, my email address is rob@roblevine.com. We do consulting, so certainly happy to talk to anybody about their needs or issues. And, any of your customers, I'm happy to answer a question for them, right, for free, just for sharing, giving back. So, and that's, at this point in my career, we do a lot to give back. So, for instance, I'm on the advisory board or executive board of May, which is a group that helps the homeless, and we feed people and clothe people, and I spend time on that. And watching other people grow now is an amazing part of my journey, because people help me get to where I am, and being able to help other people I truly enjoy.
Humble, humility, all of the things that hubris, all of the things that are important to know and attach yourself to as a business owner. We got that guy sitting in the guest seat today. Rob, so appreciate you sharing, and thanks for being on the Nice Guys today.
Doug, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It was great.
Hey, Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Rob Levine. All of his information, including access to his legal website and his solutions website, will be right there in the show notes. You know how to get there. Just click the link right in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Seriously, it'll only hurt for a minute. And don't worry, I'll be fine.